Hey everyone, thank you all for coming. My name is Michael Sweeney. I work for IOL, which is International Orientation Leader, and I'm also president of ICC, which is International Culture Club. We meet every Monday from 6 to 7. We'll be having one more meeting this semester, Monday, April 28th, 6 to 7 on Zoom, and then hopefully in the fall we can meet again in person. And yeah, if you like learning about cultures from all over the world, by all means, please join. We definitely need more members. All right. Today we'll be Valerie Rabarsoa will be presenting and talking about Madagascar. So take it away, Valerie.
Hi everybody, let's get started. So, just a second. So, Madagascar is a country located on the east coast of South Africa. That is actually something that most people get confused about, like where exactly is located. So like I show it on the picture over here, it's right here. It's a little bit small, but actually Madagascar is ranked number 4 largest island in the world. It also has like some type of plants and unique animal that only that country has. And the highland consists of 226,000 square miles of land and 27 million people living there right now. That is a recent number. I'm gonna jump to history. So from recent studies, some scientists found that Madagascar people that we call actually Malagasy people, they are Austronesian people. They have an origin of Austronesian people. Those are like the people from South Asia, a little mix of India. And that started when we had like a couple settlers from different origin, from that were Austronesian, Bantu, Arab, South Asian, Chinese, and European coming to Madagascar to migrate there. And then that's when the people like that's when it started like having a mixture of Austronesian and Bantu. So when people look at Madagascar, they think that, oh, the people there, the Malagasy people, they are black. The Malagasy people are not just black, they are a mix of colors. Some of them, like me, are very light. I'm actually the lightest person there. Some of them has like a little bit of mixture of Asian. Some of them are more like a little more of like a little mix of dark, a little dark. So it's a variation of color. Um, by 602, some of those early settlers were called Vasim, but they were the first people that were the inhabitant of the country. So these are the Vasim, but back then, this is a picture I think in the in the in the year 600 back then. But in the modern society, like right now, when we learn history about this Vazimba, we have been told that Vazimba were actually little people. What I mean with little people is they are little dwarfs, but they are very, how would I say that, they are holy, like they have certain power, so they should be respected. I think the Vazimba actually stopped existing back in the 90s because it went from generation to generation. So instead of having what they call Vazimba as the leader people, as the leader dwarfs, we had like Vazimba as people that we actually give a lot of respect to for being the ancestor of the country. And then we have also Madagascar is also known as a French colony. The colony of Madagascar was colonized by France in the 80s, and they got their independence on June 26, 1960. So they became like less independent of France. They got their own independence. France has no power, was not supposed to have power among the country no more. However, um, we still use the French currency as currency. So we went from the French franc to the arrière franc. So the arrière franc is our current currency right now, but it's still like based on the previous franc. So we have one arrière right now that is 5 francs. So every time we see these bills, like on the picture I have in the background, every time we use this bill, people tend to use the franc more than the arrière. So let's say like we're gonna buy something like for example, buy clothes or buy some food. We would say more 2005 franc than 500 arrière. And one thing that surprised people a lot is the currency between the Malagasy currency and the USD. So like I put in the video, 1 USD is 3,790 Malagasy arrière. So for those of you who are interested in going there for vacation, I will promise you, let's say you bring like a couple hundred there, you can survive there for almost half a year or a year. Let's say just with $500, because it's cheap. Life there is cheaper than way cheaper than here, and it's like a lot to enjoy with like only a couple hundred there. And then next I have, so French is still French is the second language spoken by most citizens there. Like everybody would understand French. Everybody will be able to like get understand a language. Like let's say we have a foreign person from France or from another country. Most individual will be able to understand that language and be able to communicate. French system education is an option for everybody. So most individual now adopt for French education. When they go to middle school or when they go to high school, they decide to go along with the French education because there is actually more opportunity when you have a French education and graduate with a French degree than when you graduate with a Malagasy degree. I'm not saying that the Malagasy degree is bad. All I'm saying is like there is more opportunity for students to get a French degree because once they graduate from high school, they get like an opportunity to work with the French education ministry, I think, in France, to be able to like go and continue the education abroad. Also, despite the fact that we have our independency back in 1960, Madagascar nowadays is still fighting to get the scattered island that was possessed by France. So on this map, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 islands that are in the French possession, but those are actually supposed to belong to Madagascar. So the country right now is still fighting to get those islands back from France, which is kind of hard right now because France has more power on this country since like it has been, I think, on their possession for almost like since the 80s. But the thing is, they don't belong to them. They should belong to Madagascar back then from history. So that is something that we are actually trying to get back on right now. It's a lot of political decision, a lot of political movement involved in it, so I wouldn't go deeper with it. Next I have the system of education in like the French education system. So here, I'm sorry for the left side. So that was supposed to be like the number of grade in the American education system. I don't know how it went like that. So it's supposed to start with first grade. So first grade would start at the yellow bottom, then it would go second, third, and until 12th grade. So the only difference is for the French education system and the Malagasy education system, for each grade, for each level of education, we have an exam that each student has to pass. So once the student finish middle school, they have to pass the exam to get the brevet. So the brevet is a type of exam for all these 4 years. to allow the student to pass through high school. Then in high school, the student have the choice to go to different paths. Some of them will go to a technological path. Some of them will go to general path. Some of them go to professional path. The professional path will be for those who would like to go and start working right after they graduate. So those are for those students. There is actually a bunch of them who wants to finish high school, graduate, and then go start on the job market after. After high school, actually, we don't just pass high school like the Americans do. We actually have to pass the baccalaureate. I think the translation for baccalaureate in English would be a bachelor, but a high school bachelor. So before passing high school, each student has to pass their baccalaureate or they won't pass high school. I actually have like a family member of mine who spent 5 years of his life in high school. In the at the last year, during the last year of high school, he had that like for 5 years, repeated 5 times because he could not pass the last exam. So I think that's something that should change recently, but they didn't change anything yet because it is kind of a waste for students to like spend 5 years in just for the last year of high school to be able to pass the exam. Then next, I have what I call now the culture and the tradition that is actually gonna be something very interesting for everybody. So Madagascar is divided by almost 20 ethnic groups. We have the Mern. The Mern, like me, are the people from the capital. Then we have the Vasim Sarak. The Vasim Sarak are the individual from the East Coast. We have the Bitsle. The Bitsle comes from the southern central. We have the Tsimyet. So the Tsimyet is something I found on Google. I've never heard about it, but I found it a little interesting for the fact that they call the Tsimyet, the way they translate the Tsimyet was like those are the people who do not cut their hair. And then I kind of like had a little like picture in my head where I remember back then when we were little and we would go on a hike or something, we would actually see people in the forest like living in the forest. So I guess those are the Tsimyet individual. Then we have the Sakalav, the people from the western side of Madagascar, the Atandrui who comes from the southern, and the Temur who are from the southern eastern. So I have a picture, I think, of each type of ethnicity. So these are in the middle right here. These are the Mern. These are from the capital. This is actually our president and his wife. We in the Myrna in the who comes from the capital are like the type of people who would have like a light skin, but actually there will be also a lot of people who have like a little darker skin. So it's actually a bit a big mixture of people. Some people who comes from the capital are actually like have a mixture of Asian, Indonesian, like race, like a little type of mix of it. And then I have on the east, like I said earlier, the Sakalav. So this is something that distinct them from all of the other ethnicity. We know the Sakalav for their face painting. So this is some kind of thing that we would always see when we go on the when we go on the western coast. We would also always see women like this, their hair in a little bun, and then we would saw like the picture on their face, always painted with white. So it would be like a picture of flowers or some other pictures. And then we have the Atandrui a little bit in the south of the country. They also have the little buns, but the way they buns is the way it is a little bit different from the others for the fact that it will be a little buns on each side of their head and then over here. And they will always, the women would always be like with a sun, picture of a sun on their forehead. We would see the same, literally the same thing for the men with the hat, which is actually our traditional hat. And a sword like this. The sword is not for for like fighting or stuff like that. It's more for hunting or for laborers. And then we have in the central, I think south central, we have the Betzlew. The way we distinct from the Betzlew is with their hat. Most of individual or Betzlew would wear this hat most of the time, and their skin color would be a little bit different from the other ones. They would be like a little mocha caramel mocha. And then we have on the southern east, we have the Antenmoor. So the Antenmoor are the individual always wearing what we call the Lamba one, these little fabrics. These are also our traditional, I think, yeah, it's like a kind of like a traditional, how would I say that, like a little traditional shawl that we would put around us. But some people in the south, that's actually like something that differentiates them from other people. Some of them would wear them as a skirt like this most of the time, as a distinction from the others. And the hair would be also with like a braid and then a little bun down here. And the last one would be the one, the Betsum Sarak. The Betsum Sarak are the one on the from the East Coast as well. They have this type of hair. They are a little bit like lighter than the others. And recently we had like Rihanna using those type of like air to like project it on a, I think it was a fashion week, so fashion week type of event. So she was using the Betsum Saraga type of hair, where, and then nobody didn't even know like, oh, that was from Madagascar, that was inspired from Madagascar, until actually they will Google it. Then next I have, oh, this is one of the biggest thing that people don't know about Madagascar. We have what we call the Famadian. The Famadian is the turning, what we call the turning of the bones, where people would go to a crypt or the cemetery or the family cemetery to get the corpse. I know it sounds freaky, but it's like a big tradition that we actually respect. The people would take the corpse from the tomb or from the crypt, and then they will rewrap the corpse in new fresh clothes, and then rewrite the name on each one of them, to remind everybody like that this is, let's say this is the late uncle, let's say Alexander, this is the late aunt Julie, because in our culture we don't do it, we don't bury the body like the way we do it in America. We wrap them in we wrap them in like a little fabric, and then we put them in one crypt for each family. So one crypt will have like 5 or 6 corpses that you're gonna put one on top of each other. So once the Famadian comes, they will have a big party. People will come with some fresh clothes, fresh linen to cover the dead that was before, and we will have an all-day party. I would say like it's actually bigger than the Independence Day, because it's one thing that happened once every year and that each family does. So I have a picture of it. I was a little bit skeptical to show it, but it's the picture of the tradition. So this is what it looked like. So these over here are the corpse, over here and over here, that they take from this tomb right here. So in the morning, actually the day before, they will open the tomb to like let a little bit of like fresh air in the tomb, because it would stink by then. And then the day after, they would come for this tomb, and then they would like take this cloth out and then rewrap the bodies, dance around with the bodies, like holding the bodies like this and dance around with it, have a party, just to remember like it's pretty much like a celebration of the Day of the Dead, but it doesn't have like a specific like day. So it will be during around September to December when Day of the Dead comes. So each family will have like a big party. They would like be enjoying, and then they will be dancing. Another tradition that we have also is the Voodoo. So that is something that actually differ Malagasy people from all the people around the world, because before getting married, we always have this type of voodoo. So each it's a little party where we will have like one side of the family of the groom with one side of the family of the bride. So each side of the family will bring a spokesperson. It's kind of like a little like, now that I think about it, it's kind of like a bar game, but it's more than a bar game. So we would have like, okay, so like in this picture, so over here we would have two spokesperson. One is from the bride's family, one is from the groom family. So this is how it will be set up. The bride and the groom will be sitting over here. One family of one side of the family will be over here, and the other side of the family will be over here. So during this type of event, the spokesperson would talk about the groom. So the groom spokesperson would start by talking about how great the groom is, how great the daughter is, the bride is gonna be taken care of, the family doesn't need to be afraid of something. Then once that's done, once this side of the family is convinced that that the daughter will be fond of the groom's family is gonna give what we call the voodoo. Like I said earlier, is a gift that we give to the father and the mother of the bride as a consolation for their, like they said, for losing their daughter. They love beloved daughter because the daughter is gonna go away. And it's also a gift that we give to the brother for losing his sister. Once that is done, the spokesperson for the other family is gonna thank them, and then we're gonna move on to the to the how do I say that, to the ring process. So for us, we don't propose like Malagasy people. If they propose, that will be on the side. So the bride will not even get the ring yet. For after that proposal, she will have to go through this process of the voodoo for the fact that each family has to accept the other family. So the family of the groom has to convince the family of the bride that they are good for, that the groom is good for the bride. Then they will go through this ring process. So we would have a little like flower type like this, where we're gonna hide the ring of the bride. So the bride will have to go through it and find the ring. Once that is done, they are gonna start celebrating, and each family can get along now. Each family can get together, and the ceremony of the wedding, like the regular wedding, can actually start after that whole process. So that whole process will take like, let's say they have to pick a day, and then it will take like almost the whole day for them. So after this though, they will be technically married, but they will not be allowed to live together until they get actually married, like officially married. And then this is some type of dance that we actually still like keep nowadays. We call it the finda. So this is a traditional dance, and it has been always our traditional dance that we still cherish now. I couldn't find a video. I actually could find a video, but it was too long. But everywhere around the world, everywhere around the world, all the Malagasy would always start every party with this dance, wearing our traditional clothes that we call lamba one, and they will go like in a line like this, holding each other's hand, and then go into the left ones, and then go into the right ones, and then moving stepward twice. So this is something that we still keep going on nowadays. This is actually a picture of my friend's party in France, where they were having a Malagasy party, and the first thing that they would do would always be the traditional dance. So we would always start a party with this traditional dance everywhere around the world, wherever Malagasy, wherever we are, we would start the party with this. And then next, I have our traditional food. These are our traditional foods. So these mostly are eaten in the morning, early in the morning. So for some people who don't get the time to like cook breakfast or make breakfast at home, they would have this like even on the side street, because we have like little stand where they make this. So we have on the left side what we call the mufkas. Mufkas is Malagasy pancakes. The only difference between it is the way they are made. So we would fry this pancake not in a pan, but in a little like platter, like cupcake platter that we put in the oven. And instead of putting in the oven, we will put it on top of like a fire to fry them. The only difference between these three are, this is sweet, the mufkas is sweet, the ramanunak is a little savory, a little bit salty, and the menakil is sweet. The only menakil is actually, I would call a fried dough, but the mixture inside of it is different. These are actually very good, appetizing. These are something that actually I miss a lot, and I wish like there is like a little stand around Boston where I could buy it, or I can just make it at home, but I just don't get the time to actually make it. And then another one is this is what we call variamnanan. So the variamnanan is a little rice porridge that we would also take for breakfast. Sometimes we would take it for dinner, or sometimes it's a very good thing to eat when we are sick. So most people would eat it like this with a little vegetables, scallion on top. Some individual would eat it, especially at a restaurant, they would eat it with some meat, like sausage or some steak or something like that. This is traditionally eaten in the morning too. Like with the breads earlier, people would eat this in the morning or for dinner. And then after the variamnanan, I have the Rafttoot. This is our main traditional dish that nobody else, like I think no country has this type of dish. So this is what we call the Rafttoot. So if you know a Malagasy person or would want to talk to a Malagasy person, this is a very great topic of discussion. Every Malagasy would know what is Rafttoot. So the Rafttoot is a mixture of cassava leaves and meat that we actually eat with rice and some a little salad like this, or we would eat it with coconut. We would have it cooked with coconut oil. So one main thing about Malagasy people is that most of the dish that they would eat will have rice. We eat rice in the morning for breakfast. We eat rice for lunch. We eat rice for dinner. Rice is something that we cannot stop eating. So this is one example of the typical type of lunch or the typical type of meat or dish that we would actually eat at a party. Like earlier at the Famadian, we would have a big party with rice. Rice has to be always there. And then we would have either Rafttoot or another dish that is mixed with vegetables and meat. So it's mostly rice, vegetables, and meat, and a little salad on the side. Over here we have what we call koob. So we have this one on top that we call koob. And this one at the bottom also, it's called koob. So this one is like a little mixture of rice. It's like a little rice cake, but it's sweet, and we have it with peanut butter. Sometimes some people will put almond in it, and the way they would like cook it will be they mix the mixture together and they will wrap it with these banana leaves. So when you buy it, it would come with the banana leaves. It will be wrapped with the banana leaves. These are actually something that you would find, let's say, outside of the capital, or let's say an hour drive out of the capital, because we would only find these on the South Road. Sometimes, like, let's say, like you go for a hiking or you go outside the capital, you would definitely find these out of the capital, because they are really they are pretty much made by an individual that lives out of the capital, I would say, like on the side of the road. And same thing for these, they are made the same way, but this one is like the texture is different. So this is what we call kuba. This is one of our other traditional I think I would say dessert. This is something that we would eat mostly for parties, for Christmas, because it's kind of like our replacement. It's our, I would say, our Malagasy cake. Like everybody has like a cake for parties and stuff like that, but we would have this as a cake. So this is our traditional cake for weddings, for some stuff like birthdays and stuff like that. And then now I'm gonna go with the picture of the country. I will go from one side to another side. So this is what the capital look like. These over here are the infrastructure, the type of infrastructure that most houses in the capital have. Down here is downtown in Madagascar. It actually looks the same right now. We would have like a little stand house like this. These are mostly little businesses where we would sell stuff, and then outside we will have like cabs like this all the time. Like the downtown part will always have little cabs like this, especially for tourists most of the time, or some individuals that need a quick ride. So individuals there, especially the tourists, they will use mostly the cab. I think the cabs business are all actually made by the tourists. If there is no tourists, these cabs wouldn't make money, because Malagasy people don't take the cab. They would usually take the bus, walk, or have their own car. This is the center of the capital, where we have what we call the Lacanus. This is the Lacanus. It's I think one of the main things that distinguish the capital from the other side of the country, where we have this lake where we can see the castle of the king and the queen. And also we have like street market like these. I think most side of Madagascar have like a side of like a street market like this. We have actually supermarket and big market, but people rather go to the street market like this because it's cheaper and it's faster too. And then this is what I was talking about earlier, the castle of the king and the queen. It was burned in 1996. This is the picture before it was burned, and then this is after it was burned, after renovation. This is actually some recent picture of it. It got burned in 1996. I think at that time we didn't have any more king or queen. We just had like the castle as like an infrastructure that we would use as like a history thing, or like to show the tourists. So our president made sure that the castle would actually be renovated, because it's really something that show what is Madagascar, where it's like a part of history that we would want to keep going on and that we want people to know. And then here is the side coast. So I think this is one of the most beautiful place in Madagascar, for the fact that most of the water on this side of the country, the water would be blue like this. This is in Nuspe, it's on the west coast. So in Nuspe, we have these little animals that we call lemurs. We have like different kind of lemurs in Madagascar. They would look like this. I think Madagascar has like is the only country who has like so many varieties of lemurs. So we try to keep them like entertained and safe, for the fact that it's our main thing. It's something that distinguishes Madagascar from other countries. And then we have like some shark like this type. You can go like there on a vacation or something to like go scuba diving, or just go for a dive in general. The shark there are friendly from what I've heard, because it attracts a lot of foreign tourists. But I would say like it's a shark like other sharks, so everybody should be careful. So I have this for the south central of the country. This is, I think, like 3 to 4 hours from the country, from the capital. So this is where is Fianarantsoa. This is mostly a place like with this infrastructure. So I think Fianarantsoa is one of those city who has like a similar infrastructure as the capital, and with the largest like large land like this unoccupied. And also where they also sell traditional stuff like bags like this, grocery shopping stuff, and hat also, like the hat that I showed earlier. They would be made in Fianarantsoa like this, and they will be sold on the side street. So when you go to Fianarantsoa, you will see a lot of like market on the side of the street, especially for the tourists. And then we have this is Tamatav. It's known for its big tree over here, and also for this type of transport. It used to be like a little transport without the bicycle over it, without the little bicycle over here. And people would just like carry other people because they need the money. So that would be their regular work. They would carry people, but I think now they changed the way they do it because some people would be really like tired. It's tiring, it's hot also. So they would change it. So it went from this side like this to this, which is actually better for them because despite the fact that it's their source of money, it is hard also for them to like push people with it around. And then this animal that we actually call the panther chameleon is one type of like those animals that actually exist only in the country. We have this type of animal like a different color there. We have it in black, we have it in green, we have it in red. It's like a lot of variety of like colors. And then after we see the East Coast, we have the South Coast. So this is the South Coast. This is what the South look like. The South is known for this long baobab over here. The big tree, these big tree are I think 2 meters long. They are very tall and they last like 1,000 years or more. This is something actually that only Madagascar and some type of some countries in Africa have, and that distinguishes Chuliar or Tuliar from other cities of the country. One thing that distinguished this city too from the others is this type of dog. So I've seen a lot of dogs like this in America. They are called coton de Chuliar, but the owner never knew. One of my neighbor actually has one of these, and I asked her once, "Where did you get this dog?" And like, "Do you know what it's called?" She's like, "No, it's called the Shih Tzu." But they are actually different from the Shih Tzu. These are more fluffier. They are more like cotton little dogs. They are called coton de Chulia. So most people would know, oh, it's called coton de Chulia, but they don't know where it is from. It is another type of animal that you can only find that comes from Madagascar, that they would go like export it abroad or stuff like that. And then I have this video of like an American man who is from I think Georgia. Him and one of his friends went to Madagascar for a caritative action, or I think it was like a volunteering action that he was doing with his friend. He was in Madagascar for 6 months first when he started learning the language, and then he I think lived there for 3 years. He learned the language. He learned Malagasy, so now he speaks fluently the language without the accent, the American accent. And then he also speaks French now, for the fact that from the time that you speak Malagasy there, you will also learn how to speak French. So I'm gonna go put the video for like a minute or two to just show what does Malagasy sound like.
Saika hanao video fanazavana kely zay ny momba ny tanjonay sy mombamombanay ihany koa. Fa mialohan'izany dia te hiarahaba kely amin'ny page amin'ny Facebook Malagasy fenao satria feno herintaona no nisian'izay page Malagasy fenao zay. Dia isorona ihany koa zareo nizara ny videonay voalohany ilay bebe manao basket. Dia isorona ihany koa ny fandaharana le JT sy morning day ao amin'ny Dreaming télé satria zareo koa nizara ny videonay tao amin'ny télé. Dia irosa.
So that's what Malagasy would sound like. I think, in my opinion, is actually fluent in Malagasy, and I think now they have like a page on Facebook. It's called Vasim Tengas. I would send the link and the title in the discussion after for anybody interested in like maybe learning more about Malagasy. They have like a page just to teach English, but also teach Malagasy. They makes a lot of videos that actually are very entertaining. So for anybody interested, I will post it in the discussion after. And then culture shock. So this is something that I actually wanted to talk about my own personal experience. I actually did not go through all of this phase when I first come to America. I just went from the honeymoon phase, and I think that's it. So me, when I first came in, my biggest culture shock, I would say, was American customs, because I was very, how would I say that, curious and intrigued about the way people here in America that's thing. One thing is the way they do breakfast, first of all. So when I first came in, I was in a host family. They were Filipino, but Filipino American. So for breakfast, they would have eggs, sausage, and cheese. And that was like one major thing that actually shocked me, because I wasn't expecting that type of breakfast. Because in my culture, for breakfast, we would have something sweet and something, I would say, a little bit hot, like the variam nanana earlier, like the right porridge with those bread or something like that. Another thing that actually also shocked me for breakfast was the way Americans drink coffee. In my country, only, I think I would say, older adults and eldest, only those people would drink coffee. Individual, I would say, under the age of 50 would not drink coffee on a daily basis. We would have tea, or mostly tea for breakfast. That was something that actually really shocked me about Americans when I first came in. And then one time, I will think, when I first came in on my first month, I went to High Hope with one of my friends. It was the same thing. Mostly American breakfast are salty and savory, which kind of like, I was like, okay. I was like, okay. I was shocked at the beginning, but I got used to it. And then another thing is the way Americans are actually very welcoming. The first time I came was when I met people on the street. Everybody would say, "Hi, how are you?" But in my country, if you say hi, how are you, to a stranger in the street, they would look at you very like, they will look at you like you're a stranger. Some people will punch you in the face because they don't know you, and you come to them like that. That actually really shocked me too. In my opinion, it's not that Madagascar don't have manners. It's just that we reserve that type of like saying hi to like the people that we only know. And I think I didn't really go through the rejection phase, the regression phase, the recovery, or the reverse culture shock, for the fact that on the side of the rejection phase, my parents, I mean my family, when I first moved here, they also moved to Canada, so it was not that far away from me. Like, I would have my mom or my dad or some of my family come visit me. And when it comes to the stuff of housing or employment, I was kind of lucky actually about the part where I was like about employment, for the fact that the money that I have been using here has been like my dad's fund that he actually saved for each one of us. So I think that was one thing that really helped, for the fact that when I saw actually the cost of like, not the cost of living, but the cost of fees, like in college and stuff, I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? But I went through it. So I would say, me personally, the only culture shock that I had was going through the change of stuff, like how Americans do stuff here, and then the way to adapt through it. That was like pretty much the whole thing. And then that was my whole presentation.
Thank you, Valerie. I was actually just going to jump in and say we have a couple questions in the chat.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind just stop sharing your screen so we can see everyone. And I think, Jen, you had the first question, so I'll let you go ahead.
I think I did. I have to go back into the chat. I was just asking about like the difference between the French and the Malagasy degrees, because you did a nice job of, I loved how you went through like the comparison of the education systems. And I think if I understood correctly, like on the side, like for the US, that's like how old you are, right? Like you're 18 years old, or was that like the grade?
No, on the side earlier was the grade. So grade 1 to grade 12. But I think the way it was set up in the picture was wrong. So I see that you asked earlier, what's the difference between the French and Malagasy degree? So the difference between the French and Malagasy degree would be that the Malagasy degree, it will be only recognized in Madagascar. While the French degree, it will be recognized somewhere else abroad. Let's say like most of the students who decide to go through the French education, they will get the opportunity at the end of high school to actually go to a French university, or a university that speaks French, or let's say a university in Canada where they speak French. So the admission for them would be easier than the Malagasy degree. The Malagasy person who has a Malagasy degree will have to go through some tests, like, you know, like those TOEFL tests that we do. They will go through that. But if you get a French degree, they will automatically like go through that admission. So I would say like it just the recognition of it. The French degree will be recognized more abroad when you decide to go abroad than the Malagasy degree.
Great, thank you.
And I think Nevada had asked about where you're from. I think you had mentioned you were from the capital, is that correct?
Yeah, I come from the capital that was named Antananarivo. So the living cost in the country is so I would say the living cost in the capital is a little bit more expensive than the coast, but it's not that expensive. But compared to the cost of living in America, it's definitely low, very low. Like you can like literally live over there in the capital with just $500 for 6 to a year. So I think it depends on where like if you decide to go, where do you get like where you start from? Do you start from America? Do you start from Meta City? But honestly, the cost of living in the country will be lower than anywhere else outside. Except that in the capital, it would be more expensive than the coast. Oh, except on the west side. The west side is actually a little bit expensive, the one with the shark, because most individuals on that side of the coast are French. So they would use most of the time the French currency there. So they would use euro there. So most things will go with the euro currency, not the franc. So it would be a little bit more expensive. So that side is actually expensive, sorry. Okay, and then I see, Kristen, you asked how much time would it take to drive from the northernmost part to the south? So to go from the north to the south, it would take like around 7 hours to 9 hours. From the north to the south, I think it would take a little bit of a long drive. But it's a thing that you wouldn't miss, because on the way driving there, you would see so many different things. You would see some lemurs there. You would see some animals there. There is a lot to see on the way driving down there. The only thing about driving to the south is it's a little bit dangerous to drive to the south just like that if you don't know anybody from the south who can actually come with you, because the south is known for how would I say that? For some people who would rob you on the road. So that is something that actually bad about driving to the south. You will be okay if you drive during the day, but you never know, because you go and drive for a long drive, so you don't know like what time you will be there or stuff like that. So the best thing, I think the best advice that I would give somebody who would drive from the north to the south is either get somebody who comes from the south who can actually like get to protect you, maybe, or take a plane, because the drive is not safe as like it looks like.
Thank you, Valerie. And I do just want to be mindful of time. We only have 3 minutes till 4 o'clock. So I just want to say thank you And then also maybe we have time for just one more quick question. If anyone has a burning question they'd like to unmute and ask. I'll ask my question then. I'm curious, how are things in Madagascar with COVID-19? How is your family and friends holding up?
So I didn't want to mention anything about COVID because Madagascar right now is going through the first phase. So the country was found when America was like starting having the first phase. So right now everything has been starting, like they got the first phase, the hospital is full. They are actually like at the point in a crisis of oxygen because right now the hospital cannot like afford oxygen for everybody no more. So now the oxygen, when let's say like somebody got COVID and get admitted to the hospital, the person has to pay for the oxygen that's to be treated at the hospital plus the hospital cost. So right now I would say it's worse than what happened to us last year because like me personally, when I go on social media and look at it right now, I see like death every day. Like I would see some family saying like, oh my God, I lost my grandma. Oh my God, I lost my uncle. It's very sad because I think like it just like started like getting bad. So in a month, they would have like around 1,000 deaths in just a month. And like people there are not getting enough stuff. Like they don't get to have like mask. So for those people who have mask, they would make people pay for the mask too. So the mask there is not free, the oxygen is not free, the hospital fee is very high. So it's bad for the population actually. It's really bad. So I hope everything will get better, but right now I'm at the point where like it's very sad. It's actually worse than what we have been through like the past years.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know things, you know, here were challenging and touch and go for a while, so I hope the best to your family and friends back home. And I hope you're able to, you know, communicate with them regularly, because I'm sure talking with them yourself is helpful for you to know they're safe at least every day. And I'm sure it probably lifts their spirits to get to talk to you and see how you're doing here. So.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that and sharing everything about your country and culture, because I know I definitely learned a lot. So I really appreciate it, Valerie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching. And Kristen, the time difference is I think 8 hours. Yeah, it is 8 hours. So it will be like midnight over there right now. Yeah. Thank you everyone. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.